The countdown has begun. April 6th. That is the date President Donald Trump has given Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, or face what he calls total obliteration. This morning, Trump issued yet another explosive warning, this time threatening not just oil wells and power plants, but Iran's water supply. The world is watching. Diplomats are scrambling, and the question on everyone's lips is, will there be a deal or a devastating escalation? Let's break it all down. Just this morning, President Trump took to Truth Social with language that sent shockwaves around the world. Trump said the United States was in talks with a more reasonable regime to end the war in Iran, but repeated his warning that if the Strait of Hormuz is not immediately reopened and a deal is not reached, the U.S. will blow up and completely obliterate all of Iran's electric generating plants, oil wells, and Karg Island. But today he went even further, also threatening to attack Iran's desalination plants, the facilities that supply clean drinking water to millions of Iranian civilians. The White House pressed on whether targeting civilian desalination plants could violate international law, said the U.S. military would always act in accordance with the law, but made clear that Trump has capabilities beyond Iran's wildest imagination and is not afraid to use them. Here is something important to understand. This April 6 deadline is not the first one Trump has issued. It is actually the third. On March 22. Trump threatened to hit and obliterate Iran's power plants within 48 hours unless the Strait of Hormuz was fully reopened, but roughly 12 hours. Before that deadline, he extended it by 5 days, claiming the U.S. and Tehran had launched very good and productive conversations. Then on March 26, Trump extended the deadline again, this time by 10 full days to April 6. He claimed Iran had offered him 8 big boats of oil as a goodwill gesture, a number he later revised to 10 tankers. Trump justified this latest extension by claiming it came as per the Iranian government's request, writing on Truth Social that talks are ongoing and going very well. So the big question is this real diplomacy? Or is Trump simply buying time? Tehran is telling a very different story. Iran's parliament speaker Mohammad Bagher Kalibaf flatly denied that any direct talks had taken place, calling Trump's claims psychological warfare designed to manipulate oil markets. Iran's semi-official Tasnim news agency confirmed that messages have been sent to Tehran by some mediators, but insists no direct U.S.-Iran negotiations are happening. Iran's official response to the U.S. 15-point peace plan was equally blunt, demanding an end to all U.S. and Israeli attacks, war reparations, and formal U.S. recognition of Iran's sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. And on the ground, Iran appointed a hardline new top security official after an Israeli strike killed his predecessor last week. This is not the signal of a regime on the verge of surrender. At the heart of all this is one narrow waterway. More than 1/5 of the world's oil supply passes through the Strait of Hormuz, along Iran's shoreline. Since the war began on February 28, shipping through the strait has largely ground to a halt. Iran's Parliamentary Security Commission has now approved a plan to impose tolls on ships passing through the strait, including an outright ban on vessels belonging to the United States and Israel. There are small signs of movement. Around 30 tankers are expected to pass through the strait over the coming days, which the White House is pointing to as evidence that diplomacy is working. But in a moment that stunned many observers, Trump jokingly referred to the waterway as a Strait of Trump, and later floated the idea that it could be jointly controlled as part of a peace resolution. While diplomacy plays out publicly, the military buildup tells a different story. CBS News has confirmed that U.S. Special Forces, including Navy SEALs and Army Rangers, are now positioned in the Middle East, giving Trump options on the ground at a moment's notice. Reports in U.S. media suggest the White House is actively considering ground operations against Iran, a step that military analysts warn would lead to massive escalation. So far, an estimated 1,937 people have been killed in Iran, and 13 U.S. military members have lost their lives. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, a key backer of the operation, has spoken directly with Trump and says the necessity for military action is weeks, not months. Meanwhile, Democrats, and even some Republicans on Capitol Hill, are voicing opposition to any ground deployment, insisting that Congress must be consulted before boots hit Iranian soil. Behind the scenes, diplomatic channels are quietly working. Pakistan has announced it is prepared to host direct U.S.-Iran talks in the coming days, and has already helped facilitate the passage of Pakistan-flagged oil tankers through the strait. As a confidence-building measure, Egypt is also involved, with Cairo pushing for the U.S. and Iran to move from indirect messages through mediators to face-to-face negotiations. But the gap between the two sides remains enormous. Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff said the U.S. is trying to convince Iran that this is the inflection point with no good alternatives, while Trump himself told reporters on the opposite of desperate. Every day this war continues, the world pays a higher price. International oil benchmark Brent crude is on track for its steepest monthly rise on record. The average U.S. gas price has now edged up to $3.99 per gallon, the highest since 2022, hovering just below the psychological $4 threshold. JP Morgan has warned that the economic shock will move from Asia westward, with global supply chains feeling the full pressure in the weeks ahead. Iran-backed Houthi militants in Yemen have also resumed missile attacks on Israel, raising fears they could next target the Bab al-Mandeb Strait, potentially opening a second front for global shipping disruption. 7 days. That is all that stands between the world and what could be a catastrophic new phase of this war. April 6, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Trump's self-imposed deadline for Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz or face obliteration of its energy infrastructure. The signals are deeply mixed. Trump says a deal is close. Iran says there are no talks. Special forces are in position. Diplomats are still talking. Oil tankers are trickling through. Iran is proposing a toll system. The only certainty right now is uncertainty. What do you think? Will Trump pull back again? Or will April 6th mark the point of no return? Drop your thoughts below. Like this video if it kept you informed, subscribe so you don't miss the next update, and share it. Because in a story this fast-moving, everyone needs to stay ahead. We'll see you in the next one.